الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
So, اعتدلوا, please join the lines. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Inshallah, all the brothers requested to come closer to the member in the front immediately after Sunnah. We will have a very important seminar on the injunctions of Zakat, how to discharge this obligation, inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم. Our respected colleague Mufti Abrar, we are grateful he prepared this presentation to do here at Dar es Salaam for the itikaf, and then he gave permission to use it, inshallah. What is the agenda, inshallah? What we hope to cover in this seminar is understanding zakat, what it is, and issues of liability and eligibility. When are you liable to pay, and when would a person be eligible to receive zakat? Who are the recipients of zakat outlined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, who are the valid recipients? And then there will be some scenarios where we can go through and do some practical application. And this is when you would have to apply what we just learned to the different scenarios and see if you can come up with the right answer, inshallah. Is zakat wajib or not, and how much? And then there will be question and answers, inshallah. So if you have questions, please note them down during the presentation, and we will take all the questions at the end. Understanding zakat. These are some questions that we should be aware of that will be answered in the presentation. Start thinking about them. Can you give zakat to a masjid? This is a commonly asked question, will be answered. To use for the masjid. Can the masjid use it for their expenses or not? Zakat money. What about zakat on jewelry? If it's in use, do you have to give zakat on it or not? These questions are there for us to start jogging our minds and start thinking on these lines. Does one have to pay zakat on rental property value? The value of the property that a person rents out, that he owns as an investment. Is there zakat wajib on that or not? What about zakats on 401ks, retirement plans? And can one subtract the fees charged for withdrawing one's 401k? Is it permissible to subtract the fees? So all of these questions will be answered. You have to keep an eye out for it when it comes, inshallah, and duly note it down, inshallah. What is the definition of zakat and the purpose? The linguistic meaning of the word zakat is blessing, purification, and praise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُمْ بِهَا وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ. That take the sadaqah and the zakat from the wealth, O Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it will purify them. So zakat is a purification of the wealth. When the zakat is discharged, the remaining wealth becomes purified. And also, it's a purification of the heart from love of the dunya. So it's purification of the remaining wealth, purification of the heart. So zakat is a means of purification. And also it is a means of blessings and increase. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا آتِيتُم مِّن زَكَاةٍ تُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَ اللَّهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُضْعِفُونَ. Whatever money you give in the path of Allah in zakat, that will be a means of increasing your wealth. فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُضْعِفُونَ. So zakat is a means of increasing one's wealth. Imam Qurtubi rahmatullah alayhi in his tafsir, he mentions, يقول العرب زكى الزرع إذا نما. That the Arabs, they say, زكى الزرع, the crops have, zakat has occurred in the crops. And what they mean about the zakat of the crops is that the crops have grown. إذا نما. When there is numu means increase. When there is increase in the height of the crop, the grains are increasing, the stalks are becoming taller, then the Arabs say that, oh, this is zakat, meaning is increasing. So just a reminder that, of course, we all know, Bunya al-Islamu ala khamsin, there are 5 main pillars of our deen. Shahadati Allah ilaha illallah, the central pillar that our Islam rests on is the shahada, the testification of the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the 4 pillars in the 4 corners of the structure are iqamatu salah wa ita'u zakah, sawmi Ramadan wa hajj al-bayt, man istata'a ilayhi sabila. Establishment of the salah, discharging the zakat, going for hajj once in a lifetime, fasting the month of Ramadan. So they are not 20 pillars of our deen, or 15 or 10 even, only 5 pillars. So they're very, very integral. These are the foundations of the deen. Right now, downstairs, if there are pillars that are part of the foundation, if those pillars would fall, or those pillars would not be strong, then this entire beautiful structure is of no use. It would all come crashing down. The chandelier, this architecture, these minarets, and the dome, and the calligraphy, if it's all beautiful, all this beauty and ornamentation on top, but if the foundation is weak, then everything would come crashing down. So likewise, these 5 pillars, if they are weak and they're not performed correctly, and there are mistakes in the execution of them, and then if you have beautiful character, beautiful akhlaq, and you have beautiful embellishments of your deen, and you're otherwise very nice and pious and righteous and God-fearing, but you're not fulfilling the obligations, then the whole structure of Islam would come crashing down. So it's absolutely necessary and essential that we ensure that we comply with the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and fulfill these 5 pillars of the Islam in the most correct manner. There are many, many virtues of giving zakat, and at the same time, there are many warnings for not fulfilling this obligation. مَا مِنْ يَوْمٍ يُصْبِحُ فِيهِ الْعِبَادِ Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, every morning that everyone wakes up, إِلَّا مَلَكَانِ يَنْزَلَانِ. There are 2 angels, they come down from the sky every day. They came down today as well. They come down every day. They came yesterday, they'll come tomorrow, inshallah. يقول أحدهما, one of them says, اللهم أعطِ منفقا خلفا. Oh Allah, the one who spends in your path, give him back greater reward, and return to him in this dunya what he has spent, and give him reward in the hereafter. He makes dua for those who spend in the path of Allah. ويقول الآخر اللهم أعطِ ممسكا تلفا. And the other one says, oh Allah, the one who did not discharge the responsibility that's due on him, bring destruction upon him. So there's rewards as well as there's punishment for not fulfilling this obligation. Many people, they take this obligation very lightly, and they say that, they are paying taxes. Taxes is very different from zakat. Taxes is supposed to be where all the citizens of a country get together to help pay for the public expenses. That everything that you're using, all the services that you are benefiting from. And that is another discussion on its own, that the taxation system may be unjust and maybe too much, and some of the expenses, or many of the expenses, could be cut off, and there's huge wastage of public money. That's why the people are being forced to pay so much. But that does not take the place of zakat. In the way of calculating it also is very different. The tax is based on your annual income, how much you made that year. Whereas the zakat is not on the income, it's rather on the savings, as we will come to that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He speaks in the Quran about the rewards of giving zakat and the barakah and the blessings it gives, and He also mentions some warnings. In Surah Al-Tawbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَوْمَ يُحْمَى عَلَيْهَا فِي نَارِ جَهَنَّمَ. On that day, the gold and the silver, they will be heated up in the fire of Jahannam. وَتَقْوَى بِهَا جِبَاهُهُمْ وَجُنُوبُهُمْ وَظُهُورُهُمْ. And then it will be brought back hot pieces of gold and silver, and those who did not discharge the zakat of that wealth, they will be branded with it on their foreheads. Jibahuhum is the plural of jabha, which means forehead. وَجُنُوبُهُمْ, and their sides. وَظُهُورُهُمْ, and their backs. And then it will be said, هَذَا مَا كَنَزْتُمْ لِأَنفُسِكُمْ. This is what you used to hoard for yourself. فَذُوقُوا مَا كُنْتُمْ تَكْنِزُونَ. So taste now the punishment of that which you hoarded. This is ayah in Surah At-Tawbah, in the Quran, in the 10th juz. So it is a very serious matter indeed. In the Khilafah of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anhu, there was a group of people who said that there were many different rebels, because a lot of people had most recently accepted Islam towards the end of the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Islam had not strongly and firmly become entrenched in their hearts. embedded in their hearts, and their lives have not changed. They were very recently just coming out of pure jahiliyyah and ignorance. Many of them had not even met Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so they were not Sahaba. They were planning perhaps to meet him whenever the opportunity would come. Maybe next Hajj we will go. And they did not know that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is going to die on this date. It wasn't announced previously that he is going to pass away on this date. In case you're wondering, how is it possible that you can be a Muslim and you are alive and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is alive and you don't go visit him? And you just say, no, I'll stay right here, I won't go visit him. We have come 1400 years and later, and we would die to visit Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We would love to see him. So how can it be possible you're in the Arabian Peninsula and you don't go visit him? Because they were planning to visit him later. They didn't know, of course, he was going to die. And Rasulullah left this world. So there were all kinds of different types of rebels that appeared on the scene. Some of them completely forsake and gave up the religion of Islam. They became apostates. They became murtadeen. Some of them went back to shirk. Others started following other false claimants to prophethood. So there was Musaylamat al-Kadhab, the liar, who claimed to be a prophet, and Tulayha and Aswad Anasi, different false prophets and prophetess. They came up. And then there was a threat of these people. There were external threats. The Roman Empire was planning to attack Medina. And amongst all of these people, there was also some who did not give up Islam and did not follow any false prophet. They said, we believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the final prophet of Allah, and we believe in everything in the Quran. The only thing they said is, we will not discharge the zakat anymore. Because we used to give the zakat, they took it as a burden. وَمِنَ الْأَعْرَابِ مَنْ يَتَّخِذُ مَا يُنْفِقُ مَغْرَمًا. And amongst the Bedouins are those who regard, Allah Ta'ala said in Surah Tawbah, whatever they spend in the path of Allah as a burden. On the other hand, وَمِنَ الْأَعْرَابِ مَنْ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَيَتَّخِذُ مَا يُنْفِقُ قُرُبَاتٍ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ وَصَلَوَاتِ الرَّسُولِ أَلَا إِنَّهَا قُرْبَةٌ لَهُمْ سَيُدْخِلُهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي رَحْمَتِهِ. There are those amongst the Bedouins who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and whatever they spend in the path of Allah, they regard it as a means of drawing closer to Allah. And Allah Ta'ala will draw them close to Him, and Allah will reward them, and Allah will forgive them and elevate them. On the other hand, there is one group who regard it as a burden. So they said that, you know what, we made this deal with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we're going to pay him. He was the central authority, the one we signed the contract with. Now he is gone, we don't know about Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. We're not going to give him zakat. So at this occasion, when there were so many bigger threats, because these people are relatively lesser threat in the sense that they are Muslims, they're part of the Muslim Ummah, they just have a problem with zakat. So some of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu ajma'in, they said, take it easy, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, let them alone for now, let's take care of the bigger problems. Let's take care of all the Roman Empire that's planning to destroy us, and these false prophets and their people who are propagating their falsehoods ideology and their false ideologies. Let's take care of all of these things right now. So Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he took a very firm stand. He is the most merciful in the entire ummah for the ummah. Arhamu ummati bi ummati Abu Bakr. The most merciful of the ummah to the ummah is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. Yet he took a firm stand. And he said that, لَوْ مَنَعُونِ عِقَالًا. If they bring, in the time of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they used to bring a camel with a rope, and now they say that we will bring the camel and we will not bring the rope anymore, then I will wage jihad against such people. Because they were not only not agreeing to give zakat, but they were denying the entire institution of zakat. So this actually is kufr. Take a person out of the fold of Islam. Any of the pillars of Islam, any of those things which are proven directly from the Quran, qat'i'u thubut, qat'i'u dalala, meaning it's very explicitly mentioned in the Quran, and there's no interpretation required either. It's explicit in the wording and explicit in its interpretation. Like zakat, there's no difference of opinion regarding zakat being an obligation or salah being an obligation or any of these pillars. So if somebody doesn't do it only, then they say, I'm sinful, oh, I don't give my zakat, then that person is a fasiq, a sinning Muslim. But if a person rejects the institution altogether and says, I don't believe in zakat, then that could lead to kufr. That can be kufr itself and take a person out of the fold of Islam. The person who does a major sin, لا نكفر أهل القبلة, as Imam Tahawi mentions in his Aqidah. The one who performs salah towards the Qibla and a reciter of the kalima, we don't make him a kafir just because he does not fulfill an obligation. But if he rejects the obligation, then that will be a rejection of the Quran and that will result in kufr itself. So this shows us how important zakat is. The rejection of it in the Sahaba is kufr, and it was not the only opinion of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, solitary opinion, but rather he is the one who initially took the stand, and all the Muhajirun and Ansar and the consensus of the Sahaba, they all agreed on this matter. They all joined him, and those people eventually came back into the fold of Islam. Subhanallah. And he said, أَيُّ سَمَاءٍ تَضِلُّنِي وَأَيُّ أَرْضٍ تَقِلُّنِي. Which sky will give me shade, and on which piece of earth can I continue to stand if I do not fulfill the order of Allah and the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam? لَأَنْفَذْتُهُ وَلَوْ لَمْ يَبْقَ وَحْدِي. I will fulfill the order of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam even if no one is left behind except for myself. لَوْ خَتَفَتْنِي الْكِلَابُ وَالذِّئَابُ لَأَنْفَذْتُهُ كَمَا أَمَرَ بِهِ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم وَلَوْ لَمْ يَبْقَ وَحْدِي. That if I am left alone in the city of Medina and I die defending the honor of the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and all of you are sent out on various campaigns to address these various threats, and he says, Al-Kilabu wa-Dhiyab. If the dogs and the wolves, they drag my corpse through the streets of Medina and there's no one left here to even bury me, I don't worry about that, but I will ensure that the order of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is enforced. So we have to be aware of that. This is definitely a very major part of our deen. Anyway, we're going to go on to learn how to discharge it, but before that we should be in the proper frame of mind to remember how important it is. Legal definition of zakat is that it is a transfer of ownership of a portion of one's wealth to a deserving individual with his intention. So it's tamliq. Transfer of ownership is tamliq, meaning you make somebody a malik, you make somebody an owner of the wealth. How much portion of one's wealth? The portion is 2.5%. 2.5% of your wealth, you transfer the ownership of it to a deserving individual, not to somebody who you just think, oh, you want to help somebody out, and they have to actually be deserving, as you see. There is a minimum amount of money that is known as the nisab. And that's 40 dirhams of silver. The actual dollar amount of that, it keeps on fluctuating with the price of silver going up and down. And on our website, on our homepage, we have it continually updated. The zakat nisab is very low right now with the price of silver as it is. It's only $329.18 at this hour. So $329. If a person has less than that, we'll come to it, who a deserving individual is. With this intention, you can't give sadaqah and charity and retroactively go back and say, oh, that was my zakat. You have to make the intention of zakat right when you give the money. The niyyah has to be there. And the zakat that you give also, it cannot be in exchange for any services. If somebody, for example, does some labor for you, is a laborer, you call him to haul some material, and then he's a deserving individual, and maybe the due labor was $50, $100 for the job, but then you pay him $1,000 and you make the niyyah of zakat. That whole $1,000 will become the compensation for his service. It will not become zakat, because you cannot give zakat as a compensation for services. You cannot give zakat as a compensation for services. It is wajib to pay immediately, meaning whenever a person qualifies to give zakat, a year passes, a lunar year, qamari, which is a few days shorter than a solar year, from the Islamic month's perspective, from Muharram to Dhul Hijjah. When a lunar year passes, then he has to discharge the zakat right away. And inshallah, it will be means of purification from sins and purification from the impure wealth. What are zakatable assets? The assets that a person has to give zakat on are all cash that a person has. Whether it's cash at home in the form of notes and currency, or is cash in the bank. All the cash that a person has in his checking account, savings account, all the cash that a person has will be calculated as a zakatable asset. The stocks that a person has in companies, then the current value of that stock. Not what you bought it at, not what you plan to sell it at, but rather on your zakat due date, on the date that you discharge your zakat, whatever the value of the stock might be. Zakatul assets include 401ks, because that is your money, that is in your name. It's just that you are not using it now, you're hoping to use it later. So, some scholars are of the opinion that the entire 401k should be zakatable. Our teacher Mufti Arullah al-Haq Sahab, his fatwa is that if you want to take the money now and take it out of the account right now this year, before it matures, before you are due to receive it, then you would have to give, say, 40% in taxes, and you would have to give 20% in penalties for early withdrawal. So 60% of the 401k would go away, and cash at hand you would only get 40%. So his fatwa is that you will have to give zakat only on that 40%. Some other scholars in their reasoning is that you did not take out the penalties, and you did not discharge the penalty, nor did you give anything in tax, and the entire amount of it was reinvested for another year, and all of it became part of the growth, and it grew and became more the next year, and then the entire amount was invested and became part of the growth for the following year. So when you finally take it at the end of, when it becomes completely mature and you deserve it, you reach the age, retirement age, then every single year the entire amount of that 401k was part of the growth in the subsequent years, so therefore the entire amount should be zakatable. And sometimes people say we don't even have enough cash on hand to give 2.5% of the 401k, because whatever income we have, you're spending it all. And the 401k is ballooning and is maybe a lot, but they don't even have 2.5% of that in cash at hand in their bank. So how are we supposed to give it? In that case, there are the two opinions I mentioned. One is a more conservative opinion that you give zakat on the entire amount. One is the other opinion, which is also respectable, that you can deduct it. You can keep a record of it if you don't have the money, and when you actually take out your 401k, then you would have to go back and pay the zakat on all the years you missed. That's if you just don't even have the money. But you would give, when you get the entire amount, you will give 2.5% of the years that you missed. Gold and silver, all gold and silver in any shape or form, whether it's coins, whether it's jewelry, whether it's bars or bricks, or whatever shape you have the gold and silver, then they're all zakatable. By their very nature, gold and silver is zakatable. But gold and silver only. Besides gold and silver, if there's other precious metals, like platinum, or they're precious jewels, semi-precious jewels, diamonds, rubies, emeralds, there is no zakat in that. So if there is zakat in cash, but there is no zakat in jewels. So if a person takes all his cash and puts it into jewels, there will be no zakat on the jewels. But if a person does it with the intention to avoid zakat, it is not a good intention whatsoever, but rather this is a person is deprived of fulfilling the fard obligation. Resale property, any property that you buy or any object and any inventory that a person purchases with the intention of reselling it. So those who are involved in business and they buy and they sell. So once a year, then their entire stock in trade, the entire inventory that they have of things and items that they bought with the intention of selling it, they will have to give zakat 2.5% of that value of that. So, if properties are or cars or anything is bought right when the intention from the beginning is I'm buying it to sell it, then you'll have to give zakat on the value once a year. If somebody buys a house and buys a land, he's not sure what he's going to do with it, then there's no zakat on it. He might build something and rent it out, or he might sell it. He's not sure, there's no zakat. But once he puts it on the market, he's actively selling it, then there will be zakat on the sale price. If you're actively engaged in selling a property, there will be zakat on it. If you're just holding on to it or you are collecting rent, there would not be any zakat on that resale property. And inventory, I already mentioned this. In Arabic, this is known as urud al-tijara, items that are bought with intention of selling. These are all your zakatable assets. So there are a lot of things that people still own and have in possession, but are not here on the list. Those are not zakatable. Zakatable assets also, if people are in farming and agricultural societies, then there's zakat on animals. It's not mentioned here, but that is not very common. There's zakat for horses and sheep and goats and camels, and produce from the farms as well. What are some expenses and debts that you can deduct? All money that is currently owed, even if not immediately. Initially, people would be very scared of taking loans and debts, and taking a debt was a bad thing, a negative thing. Only people in dire medical need or emergencies or life-threatening situations where they're in extreme situations, they would go and take a loan. So that is why the entire amount of the loan that you owe somebody can be deducted. That was the original fatwa. But nowadays, the entire environment is such, and those who are behind the scenes running the finances of this country, and the world for that matter, they want people to continue to pay interest to them. So they have made debts part of life. So everyone is taking debts now. Everyone is in debt to the banks. And people are taking long-term debts. So taking a debt doesn't mean that a person is dirt poor anymore. He doesn't have any money. But rather, a person might have a lot of money, might have a huge income, but he wants to spend beyond his income. He can afford a $200,000, $250,000 house cash. He has that money. But he will not live in a $250,000 home. He will live in a $1 million home or a $2 million home, even though he has $250,000 cash. And he could live a debt-free life. But he wants to live beyond his means, so he will take a debt. And likewise, people take debts for the houses, the biggest thing, cars, education, all of these debts people have. And commercial debts, a person has so much money, he can start a small business, but he'll take a bigger loan to open a factory, to buy a warehouse. So millionaires also are in debt. So if a person has $1 million cash at hand, and if we are going to take the original fatwa of deducting the entire debt, he might be $1.5 million in debt. He owes $2 million, he owes $3 million. So even though he has $1 million in the bank, he will not have to give zakat. And that is very problematic. Because the entire America, if they look at the house mortgages people owe, then all of us would become recipients of zakat. Everyone in Africa and from the third world countries, and the herders of the sheep and the goats in the deserts, they should pay zakat to us so we can afford our mansions and pay off our mortgages. Because we are more in debt than they are. They're not in debt, right? They have their sheep, they take their milk, and once in a while they'll sacrifice one and have a barbecue, and they are happy. They're not in debt. Who's in debt? We are in debt. So that is a very problem. The scholar said that this is not going to work. All money currently owed here, this first line, it's not going to work anymore. So because the society and the economics have changed over time. So that is why now the scholars say the only thing you can deduct from your zakatable assets when you're calculating your zakat is how much money you owe in that month, your monthly payment. If you already paid it, then it's already deducted. And if you haven't paid it, it's a bill on your desk. You have to pay it. You may deduct your monthly payment. A debt used to be such a big burden, a person could not sleep at night, would be tossing and turning. Nowadays, people are sleeping soundly with thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of debt that they owe. They're not worried about it. The only time now you want to worry about is, when you have to give zakat, you want to deduct your entire college debt and your entire house debt and all these debts. That won't work that way. Another thing is you can subtract incurred expenses. Of course, if you already paid it, then it's gone. If it's a pending withdrawal from your account, you don't have to give zakat on that. And if you have potential expenses that are going to come in the future, you cannot deduct that. You cannot deduct future expenses. When do you give your zakat? You have to select one lunar date of the year. For example, Ramadan 1, Ramadan 10. Or now, if you're going to discharge your zakat after the seminar, it could be Ramadan 29. Don't make it Ramadan 30. Because if the moon is sighted early, then you don't give your zakat. It's like the one who's born in the leap year on February 29th. So his birthday comes every 4 years. You don't want to be in that situation. You want to give your zakat every year. So make it, that's kind of scary, so close to the end. Make it 27th maybe. 27th of Ramadan. So you give your zakat on the 27th of Ramadan every year. Sometimes people get a little bit confused. They're trying to say that the money has to remain in your possession for 1 year. So this money I just got 2 months ago, 1 month ago, I had a bonus. So this money did not remain in my possession for 1 whole year. I just got it. So when it comes to sudden increases in wealth, and on the other side, to be fair, decreases as well. You don't have to worry about starting a new 1 year from that date. It's not about the money. It's not about every single paycheck remaining in your possession for 1 year. It's about you as a person remaining an owner of the nisab for 1 year. What that means is, if you want to make sure that every paycheck that you get, if you get a paycheck, for example, twice a month, on the 15th and the 30th of the month, then to truly ensure that, and there's some portion of that you save. Most of it you spend, and 10% of it you are saving of your income. So when would 1 year pass for that 10% of that paycheck to remain in your possession? 1 year from that date. So that means that every 15th and 30th of every month throughout the year, twice a month, 24 times, are you going to have to discharge zakat? 24 times a year? No. You don't discharge zakat 24 times a year, every 2 weeks. You discharge zakat only once a year. So you don't have to start worrying about every single penny and dollar and cent. It remains in my possession for 1 year. It's that you remained a possessor of nisab. You were over the threshold of 300 and just make it $350. Say $350 is the nisab. You had more than the nisab for an entire year. Now, at some points in the year, you might have went up to $5,000, $10,000 savings, $20,000. Parts of that year, you went down. You only had $500. You only had $1,000. It's fine. All that fluctuation will not make a difference. It's only if you go below the threshold, you go down to 0 or negative. Then, however many number of months have passed, become 0, and you are not going to be calculated. This happened in month number 8, in the 8th month of the lunar calendar. And then what happened is you went down to 0. The 8 months that you were Sahib Nisab don't count anymore. And once again, when things become better and your financial condition improves and you become Sahib Nisab again, then your yearly count will begin once again from that point. But besides that, any other fluctuation, don't worry about it. When you come to your zakat due date, on that particular date, however much money you have at hand, cash and stocks, and you subtract your expenses that you have paid, that are due, and debts that you owe, and you just give 2.5%. So if somebody had just $500 in their bank the whole year, and just 1 week before the zakat is due, they inherited a fortune, $1 million. So they will give zakat on that $1,500,000. On the other hand, if a person had $1 million for the whole year and right before his due date, there was huge medical expenses and tragedy, or it was stolen and he doesn't have it anymore, he was robbed, then he will not have to give zakat for that million because he doesn't have it anymore, even though he enjoyed it for a whole year, minus a week. Is that clear? If someone is not liable for zakat, are they eligible for it automatically? Something to think about. If they're not liable to pay, it's not farad on them to pay, does that mean that they're eligible to receive? Or is there a category in between that is not, he's not paying nor can he receive? What do you think? Do you think if somebody is not paying, automatically they're eligible to receive? No, there is a category in between. We'll talk about it. Can a person pay zakat on January 1st each year? What do you say? No, that's the Gregorian calendar. It'll be delayed then, because the Gregorian calendar is longer than the Islamic calendar. It's a solar calendar. If a person has jewelry equal to nisab but no cash, is she eligible for zakat? They have no cash, they only have jewelry. If there's a woman who only has jewelry, can she receive zakat because she doesn't have cash? No, she will have to sell the jewelry and make cash out of it. Is it permissible to give zakat to one's siblings? We're going to come to this. Who can you give zakat to? Who can you not give zakat to? So who is liable for zakat? All sane adult Muslims. Meaning as long as they're aqil and baligh. Two conditions. If they're sane, if they're insane and they have money on their name, then Allah Ta'ala has made them exempted from all the injunctions of Sharia. Neither salah is farad, nor sawm is farad, nor hajj is, nor zakat. And as long as they're adult. Adult means physically mature and have passed the age of puberty. So if they are young men or young women, that the money is placed in their name, in their college fund, then they have to give zakat on that money. After they become baligh, not before they're baligh. If they're children, then there's no zakat on the children that are minors. But after they reach the age of puberty, they have to give zakat. And innamal a'malu bin niyat, as you studied yesterday after dhuhr, right? Actions only come into existence with intentions. So that's why they have to be told. Sometimes the parents will just discard the zakat of their children without even informing them. So then zakat will not be valid because they never knew that they had money in their name. And they never knew that their parent is discharging zakat on their behalf. So they have to be told. They don't have to know all the dollars and cents of it. They can just be said that we have put some money on your name and we're going to discharge zakat on your behalf. Do you give us permission to discharge the zakat? And they will say, yes, of course. Hopefully they won't demand the paperwork. So then you can discharge the zakat on their behalf as a wakil, as a representative. Possess the nisab for the liability of zakat. The nisab is 612.35 grams of silver. If a person has that much silver or the equivalent in cash, then he will have to give the zakat. And fluctuations during the year are ignored, as I just explained. It could increase significantly, decrease. If it decreases down to 0, then you will restart your new year from that point, once you become possessor of nisab once again. A person is liable to pay zakat even if one does not possess liquid assets. Yeah, this is an answer to the question about if you have jewelry and you don't have cash. You'll have to liquidate it, turn it into cash. You'll have to sell a portion of it. Eligibility of zakat. It is possible for a person to be neither liable nor eligible. How is that possible? Is that he's a possessor of a nisab. If he's a possessor of a nisab, then he's not eligible to receive. But 1 whole year has not passed, so he's not liable to pay either. You follow? He recently started working, recently started getting income, recently has started having savings. So now he has savings, so he cannot, he had savings above the nisab. He has $500 in the bank. He cannot receive. But he keeps on spending that, and he doesn't keep it in his possession for a whole year. So he doesn't have to give it either. Some of the pious people, they had income in the past of thousands and thousands and thousands of dinars and dirhams, but they never gave zakat. They never gave zakat because they would always spend it out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah ta'ala would be providing from His unseen sources for them. So they're spending and spending left and right. So they never kept any savings. So a year never passed. Whatever they had, so then they never gave zakat. They always give it out in sadaqah, the entire amount. Nor are they eligible to receive it if they are above the nisab. So this is possible. The nisab calculation includes all items beyond essential needs. So if a person has essential needs, that will not become a part of the calculation in the nisab. Beyond his essential needs, his house that he's staying in, and his clothes, and his personal articles that he has. If he has additional cars, additional homes, luxury homes, vacation homes, and he says that I don't have any cash, then therefore I'm eligible to receive zakat. We will say that those luxury homes and additional homes, you can liquidate them. You understand what's going on here? Beyond essential needs, beyond your home that you're residing in, and your car that you need to drive, your transport, and your food and your clothing. If you have additional properties, those additional properties would be calculated in your nisab. You can't say that I don't keep any cash. I only have, diamonds. And you have so much diamonds, you won't have to give zakat on it, but it would be part of your nisab. You won't have to give zakat on those diamonds and platinum, but if you have hoards of platinum and diamonds and jewels, and you don't have cash, then you cannot become a recipient of zakat. Lack of liquid assets is not a valid criterion, as just explained. Who are the recipients of zakat? Acceptable recipients of zakat. إنما الصدقات, Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, للفقراء والمساكين, for the poor, indigent person who possesses less than the nisab. This is the faqir. والمسكين, مسكين and the mataraba, who is toiling in the dust. He doesn't even have clothes to cover his body. A poor person possessing no wealth at all. This is miskin. إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم. These two are coming in the next slide. They are not existing anymore. وفي الرقاب also. والغارمين is the next one that is till today. والغارم is a debtor, the one who is in debt. It's hard to find people perhaps who don't have savings, who have savings that are less than $300, but it is possible to find people who are in debt. And if it's not a debt to expand their business, expand their home, but a debt that was taken because of need, a widow, she can't fulfill her expenses of her kids, the orphans, and she took debts. So you can help in paying off people's debts. But when you do that, you have to be careful. If Zayd owes Amr money, then you have to give your zakat money to Zayd to pay off his debt to Amr. You can't just write the zakat check directly to Amr. Because Amr, for example, is a landlord. Zayd is going to be evicted from his home because he did not pay his rent. And he brings his eviction notice to you, and then you take the zakat money and directly pay to the landlord. The landlord is rich, he owns a rental property. He is not a recipient of zakat. So the zakat will not be discharged until it reaches the possession of the one who is an eligible recipient. It has to transfer through his ownership. It has to be given to him, and then he pays off his debt. If they bring notices from ComEd, bills from ComEd and Nicor Gas, and they say that, can you pay my bill? Then you have to give them the money, and then, or they could say, sign a paper and document, or verbally they say that we have made you or such and such person a representative to accept the zakat money in my behalf. Then the zakat can be discharged if you do tawqir. So a lot of places, unfortunately, people are unaware of this masala. Islamic centers and other organizations, they collect zakat money. That's why you have to be very careful who you give your zakat money to. You should be scholars and fuqaha who are overseeing the distribution of the zakat. So I know places for 20 years they're distributing zakat money, and they take the zakat money of all these individuals for the last 20, 25 years, and they just give it directly to, they say people come with eviction notices, they give the zakat money to the landlords, they give the zakat money to the ComEd, they give the zakat money to all these companies. And I explain to them that this is wrong. May Allah give us tawfiq and guidance. Their idea basically is, they have a good intention. Their intention is, oh, if you give it to the person, he might go and buy alcohol. Maybe he might go and do something haram with the money. So that's why we want to just make sure it's being spent in the right place. So, but you cannot just give it directly like that. The way out, if you don't want to give the money to that poor person and you want to make sure it goes to that particular place, is if you have a person and you say that, okay, this is, we had this appointed person who works in this social services department. Do you assign him to be your representative to collect zakat money on your behalf? And they say yes. So you give the money to that person, because this is a principle of fiqh, qabzul wakili, qabzul muakkili. That when your representative takes possession of something, it is just like you took possession of it. If you send a representative to go, for example, you want to buy a car, right? So this is a matter of daman, of liability. So if you're buying a car and you're negotiating with the person, you haven't signed the deal yet, and he hasn't handed over the keys to you, and the particular car that you want to buy, there's a hailstorm outside and the whole car gets damaged during the process. So whose car is damaged? The seller, owner of the car lot, is his car got damaged, or the purchaser, the one who bought the car, his car is damaged? The seller's car. Why? Because he did not hand it over yet. He did not hand it over to the buyer. And once he did not get the keys and he did not get possession, then it doesn't enter into his liability. Al-ghurmu bil-unmi, right? So the liability comes when you get the possession of it. Daman bil-qabd. Now what happens here is, if the purchaser, he sends his brother as his representative to go buy the car on his behalf, and he gave him his checkbook and he gave him his money and he said that, I'm busy right now, you go buy the car on my behalf. So he goes and he signs the deal and he gets the keys and the car is destroyed. Can the purchaser say that I didn't get the key in my hand yet, therefore it's not my car, give me another car, it's your car, O seller, that got destroyed? He can't say that. Why? Because one, it reached the hand of his representative, then as if he got into his own hands. Do you understand the rule? If his brother crashes the car, whose car was destroyed? The seller's or the buyer's? The buyer's car was just crashed, totaled. So that's why if a recipient of zakat, it reaches his possession or it reaches the possession of his representative, in both scenarios the zakat will be discharged. And once the zakat is discharged, then it's not considered zakat money anymore. There's another masala, tabaddul al-milk and tabaddul al-hukm. Meaning, for example, there is a person who comes into the masjid office and he says that, I have this medical procedure that's required, and he brings documentation to show that he is in need of it and he has no money and he doesn't have a nisab, and he signs a zakat paperwork that shows, in which he promises and swears that he's not a possessor of nisab or gold or silver, and he takes zakat money. And if you give him cash, and you give him $500 cash, so this is zakat money. This is the same $500 that somebody put in the zakat box. So that $500 zakat money is now given to this person, and then he takes it and he goes to the doctor. And the doctor, is a doctor an eligible recipient of zakat? No. Alhamdulillah, the doctor is making a lot of money, he's very rich. and he gives that same $500 notes, 5 notes of $100 with the same serial numbers, he gives that zakat money to that doctor. So would we say that the zakat money, the same zakat money the person put in the zakat box, is now in the hand of the doctor? Is that okay for the doctor to take that? Yes. Why is it? Because when it entered into the possession of the needy person, the zakat is discharged. It's cancelled and it's over. Afterwards, when there's transfer of ownership, he gives it further on, he moves, the money circulates. It will not be considered zakat money anymore. So we can give the money to debtors. And then after that, وَالْغَارِمِينَ. And then after that, Allah Ta'ala says, وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ. وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ means a wayfarer who is wealthy in his homeland but poor on his or her journey. So this means a person might be rich, but he has no access to his funds. This is before, American Express and credit cards and quick transfer of money. So it was possible that a person was far away from his homeland and he had no access to his wealth. If a person has access to funds from his homeland, then he would not be an eligible recipient. Nowadays, money can be transferred very easily. It's not completely not applicable. Could be scenarios where a person lost everything, lost his credit cards, has no traveler checks, has no access to his funds, and he is imprisoned. He is in some rare scenario where he doesn't have access to any banks. Then just to get by until he has access to his funds, if zakat money is given, that's fine. But the biggest need is the indigent person. The biggest recipient are indigent poor people or debtors, those who are in debt. A Muslim soldier who is cut off from his troops, that is not really applicable for us. Inapplicable recipients, the official zakat collector of the Muslim state. Right? This was in the time of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and when there was a proper khilafah in place, وَالْعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهَا. Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran that the salaries that was given to the zakat collector would be appointed by Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he would go and collect the zakat from the different people, particularly on their camels and on their horses, and he would calculate that and then he would collect the zakat. Then the salary that was given to these workers was given from the zakat funds. This is not the same as the salary which might be given to those who are working for Islamic relief or helping hand or ICNA relief. They are not valid recipients of zakat because they're not working on behalf of an Islamic khilafat and an Islamic state. There's more details regarding this. Slave working towards freedom because there's no slavery anymore. وَفِي الرِّقَابِ, that doesn't apply anymore. مُؤَلَّفَةِ قُلُوبٌ, those whose hearts are to be reconciled. Those whose hearts are to be reconciled, this has become mansukh and abrogated. Umar radiallahu anhu in his time, he said Allah has given honor to Islam. In the beginning, when Islam was still weak, the Muslim Ummah was still weak. Islam is always strong. When the Muslim Ummah was in its infancy and weak, then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in order to gain the favor of more influential people who just accepted Islam, then would give them some of the zakat funds. After the battle of Hunain, for example, there was a lot of spoils of war that came. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam distributed amongst this newly added. Some of them were not even Muslim, members of the Quraysh, to soften their hearts and to lessen their opposition that they had. But afterwards, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave honor to the Islam, and there is no distribution of zakat money to such people. If they qualify and they're poor, then most definitely. But if they're not poor and you just want to curry their favor, then you will not give them zakat funds anymore. Invalid recipients, non-Muslims. Zakat is taken from the Muslims and given to the Muslims. Zakat is not taken from non-Muslims. It's not taken from them, nor is it given to them. Non-Muslims that are poor are definitely should be helped out. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Afdalu sadaqa an tushbi'a kabidan ja'i'a." The best form of sadaqah is that you feed a hungry stomach. And he didn't say a Muslim stomach. He said any stomach. Feeding hungry people is an active reward, whether Muslim or non-Muslim. People are suffering from hurricane disasters or earthquakes or tornadoes, and you go and help disaster relief. You should, and we all should, but that would not be from zakat, that's all. That would be from sadaqah, nafal sadaqah, voluntary charity, not from farad zakat. Farad zakat is not taken from non-Muslims, therefore is not given to non-Muslims. Fair both ways. It is taken from Muslims and it is given to Muslims. Hashemite, this is the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those that are legitimately from his lineage and from the progeny of Hassan radiallahu anhu, Hussein radiallahu anhu. And this was because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah Ta'ala made it such that it was haram upon him himself to take any of the zakat money, and it was haram upon his children and his grandchildren until the day of judgment. For his entire progeny, Allah Ta'ala made it haram upon them to receive any zakat funds. To cut it out from the root, any objection that somebody could raise that the purpose of his prophethood was to create a financial empire for his children. That cannot be the case, because Allah Ta'ala made the money that was received as haram for him and his family. There is one hadith that is very sad, that the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Hassan and Hussein, or it was one of them, Hassan or Hussein radiallahu anhuma, there was a pile of dates in the Masjid Nabawi, and he was very, very hungry, and he took one of the dates and put it in his mouth and was beginning to chew it. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came, opened his mouth, took it out and threw it out. And he said, "Oh my dear son, this is haram for you and for me and haram for us. This is the dates that have been collected for zakat." So if somebody is from the Banu Hashim, from the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is a Sayyid, and they're needy, does that mean that we're not going to help them? Absolutely not. It means we should help them, give them first priority, help the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but not through zakat funds, through sadaqah, voluntary charity. We cannot give zakat to our spouse. Spouse means husband cannot give zakat to wife, nor can wife give to husband. And we should help each other out. If the husband is poor and the wife has a lot of money, she can help him out, but she cannot give her zakat to her husband. Nor can a husband give zakat to his wife. His wife is his dependent anyway. Ascendants or descendants, meaning you cannot give zakat to your father and mother, to your grandfather and grandmother, both paternal and maternal. Those are ascendants. Descendants means to your sons and daughters, and to your grandsons and granddaughters from both your sons and your daughters, and downwards. Besides the spouse and the descendants, the question that we had asked before was, can you give zakat to siblings? So what do you think? Yes, you can give zakat to siblings. And you can, if you can give zakat to your own sibling, then what about your father's siblings and your mother's siblings, meaning uncles and aunts? Most definitely. And their children? Most definitely. That means cousins, first cousins, you can give zakat to first cousins. If you can give zakat to your siblings, then most definitely you can give zakat to first cousins. So you can give zakat to all relatives. In fact, if there are zakat eligible people in your family, immediate family or extended family or cousins or second cousins, then they are given first priority, because you will receive double reward. You will receive the reward of discharging your zakat, and you will also receive the reward of silatul rahim, of being taking care of family ties. And not to make them feel bad, you don't have to tell them it's zakat. It is not a condition of the validity of zakat to inform the recipient that this money is zakat money. You don't have to tell them. But what you do have to do is you have to have due diligence to ensure that they are definitely eligible recipient. And if it's hard to know their bank balance, how much money they actually have savings, so the easiest thing is if you know that their debts are great, if they have huge debts, or whatever income they have, they're immediately spending it, they have no savings, then you can give them zakat. You cannot give zakat to an organization or masjid if they are spending it on non-zakat eligible recipients. So that means on the bills of the masjid or construction or such things, if his money is being used. So that is why we have a separate, like for example, this is a masjid and an academy and a madrasa, we have a separate zakat fund. In the zakat fund is used for needy students We don't directly use it for just the expansion cost or other. When we were building this masjid, there were people who said, we can give you a blank check, just write the amount, but it'll be zakat. We said, no, sorry. We're not taking zakat funds for the construction of the masjid. Even though from the collection perspective, it's easier to get zakat money because there's some still awareness within the ummah and they feel they have to give it. And sadaqah is voluntary, so it's harder for people to give voluntary charity. But we don't use the zakat money for construction. Now it's time for you to apply what you have learned. So put your thinking caps on, inshallah. If you were falling asleep, you can wake up. In the morning, okay. Assume the nisab is $500. So Zayd, he has $499 in his bank. And a house that is worth $100,000. And a car worth $10,000. Is he liable to pay zakat? Yes or no? If yes, how much? If no, is he eligible to receive zakat? So he doesn't have additional homes. He only has one home. And he only has one car. And the money that he has is less than the nisab. So, does he have to pay zakat? That should be easy. What do you say? No. Okay, so why doesn't he have to pay zakat? Because his savings is less than the nisab. Is he eligible to receive zakat? He doesn't have beyond his needs, he doesn't have additional. He doesn't have additional homes. He doesn't have additional property. So, since he's below the nisab, if you are saying even the home you're going to count it, then you have to, who's going to be eligible recipient? Only those who are completely homeless. You are going to limit your pool of eligible recipients to only homeless people because you're counting the home. It's hard to find a home that it will be less than $500, right? And so anyone who has a home is now excluded. So that's not the case. You don't include the home. If he has additional properties and he has chests of platinum and diamonds, we said we're going to count that, but not his home and his car. So he doesn't have to liquidate that right away. He is an eligible recipient, yes or no? What do you say? Raise your hand if you think he's an eligible recipient. Yes, these are the correct ones who raise their hands. Yes, you can give this person zakat. Number two, Zayd has $100 in his bank, a house worth $100,000, mashallah, 2 vacation properties, each worth only $50,000 though. Is he liable for zakat? If yes, how much? If no, is he eligible for zakat? So this person has $100 in his bank. So he has less than the nisab or more than the nisab? Less. And he has his own house, 100,000. But he has additional homes, each worth 50,000. So is he liable for zakat? We will tell him you need to liquidate the vacation homes. He cannot start taking zakat. First, these two $50,000 homes, he will become $100,000 cash. So these additional vacation properties, right, this is what we said in the slide here. Lack of liquid assets is not a valid criterion. Nisab calculation includes all items beyond essential needs. So these additional homes that he has can be liquidated, and then he will have to give zakat on that. If once he liquidates it, makes it into cash, then there will be $100,000 cash. You will potentially have to give zakat on that $100,000, and the $100,000 plus the $100 that he has. Everyone understand? Right now, he's not liable either. He's not liable because you don't have to give zakat on the value of the house. If he's not a recipient, he can't receive. He's not an eligible recipient because he only has $100. Just because he has these vacation properties, he's not an eligible recipient. But because he doesn't have cash at hand, he doesn't have to give either. Once he liquidates it, then he has to give. Yes. If he liquidates one house, he'll be possessor of nisab. Then you'll have to give zakat on the one, on the one that he liquidated, on the cash that he got. If he can survive just like this with $100, that's his choice. If he needs to liquidate, that's a choice that he has to make based on his economic needs, his financial needs. He's not required to. He's not required to liquidate to pay. If he continues to earn and spend and just keep $100 savings, everything he's earning, he's spending. Everything he's earning, he's spending. Then that's fine too. He will remain in that state where he's not eligible to receive and not liable to give. He'll remain in that middle condition. That's fine. You don't have to sell to give zakat. I was just saying he will have to sell if he needs more money. But if this $100 that he has in the bank is not $100 income, this is $100 saving. Maybe he has a huge income, but he's just spending it all. Everyone that's nodding, you're familiar. Jo aa raha hai, ja raha hai. Everything coming in is going out, right? So we know that's what happens. That's how many expenses we have. Everything is earning is going out. So he just has a minimum savings. So he doesn't give zakat, nor can he receive zakat. Any questions on these scenarios? Yes.
So even if he has 10 vacation properties, he doesn't have to pay zakat?
If he has 10 vacation properties, does he have to pay zakat? He still doesn't have to pay zakat. Good question. 10 vacation properties he has, but then you're changing one part of the equation, but you're not changing the $100 in the bank. Only $100 in the bank. That means he pura khandan ko pal raha hai. So where is the income going? Ye bhi sawal hoga na? This will be a question that if he has 10 vacation properties and where is all his income going? If he's, but this is not rental properties, these are vacation properties. So there's no income. There's added expense for him to maintain those actually. I don't have to worry about income, that's an expense. That's the reason he doesn't have more than $100. So these are not normal scenarios you're presenting. We are presenting extreme conditions here. How is it, practically possible that a person has 10 vacation properties and doesn't have any money in the bank? You're presenting an extreme scenario, so you're getting an extreme answer. He cannot, he's not eligible to receive, nor is he liable to pay. Yes, this is a good question. This is a really practical one that is found in the ummah, that a woman only has $100 in the bank because she doesn't necessarily have a job. That's just some money that she has, savings from the money that her husband gave her, but she has gold and silver. So most scenarios, then they ask their husband to pay the zakat on their behalf. So if she asks her husband to pay the zakat on her behalf, then the husband, if he pays, that is great, and he'll get the reward for helping his wife out. But if for whatever reason the husband says, I will not pay your zakat, or if she is a widow or she's a divorcee and she doesn't have a husband and she has a gold and silver, she has to give the zakat on the gold and silver. That's the difference between the gold and silver versus the vacation property. So in this scenario, she will be compelled to sell some few earrings, few rings, keep the bigger pieces, and give the 2.5% that way. You have to keep on giving 2.5% of that gold. And then you say that what's going to happen? You keep on decreasing that gold until it gets less than the nisab, until it's less than 6.5 dollars. Then you won't have to give zakat anymore. Then you won't have to sell off gold. Continue to sell the gold every year a little bit until it's below the nisab. Yes? Yes, it does. It comes in luxury. Yeah, there is, if he needs to sell the property, as soon as he sells it, he will have to give zakat. But there is no zakat on a property itself. Yeah, there is a worth. The property, this is different from gold and silver. Vacation property is not a zakatable asset. That is a tactic for escaping from zakat. You want to use tactics to escape from income tax, that's fine. But you want to use tactics to escape from zakat, there are a lot of tactics. But are there not to be employed with this intention? You can, if you, like gold, I said in silver is zakatable, but diamonds and platinum is not zakatable. So if you transfer your cash to diamonds, it's not zakatable. That's for you to decide, right? Yeah, so if there's a property is not zakatable. If you buy with the intention of selling, then the entire value of the property is zakatable. If you're buying and selling property, yeah, that will fall under stock in trade, things that you're buying with the intention of selling. If you adopt a tactic with the intention of avoiding zakat, that itself is sinful. Yes, it is a sin. For example, if you say that, you have all your possessions, and after 6 months, one day you tell your wife that, I love you so much, I'm transferring all my ownership to you. And then after 6 months, she says, my dear husband, I love you so much, I'm transferring it all back to you. Phir kya hoga? There's no zakat ever, because no one is in possession for the money for 1 lunar year. So just like the accountants, they have the tricks up their sleeves, the muftis have tricks as well. But we tell you, this is not to be employed. If somebody transfers all their money to the wife to the husband, back and forth every 6 months, no one is owning the money for a year, then that is wrong. That this type of hila is wrong. Kitabul Hiyal. Qala ba'd nas. Okay. So if there is hila that you can use to avoid something which is haram, that's permissible. Like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught Salman Farsi radhiyallahu in the Khaybar. That's another story about riba al-fadl. In any case, let's continue these scenarios, then we'll take your questions. These two are done, right? Next. Zayd has $250 in the bank, which is below the nisab or above the nisab? Below. And he has a house worth $100,000. And he has one rental property worth $50,000. And he has a total of $300 in rental income, in addition to his bank balance. How much zakat will he pay? So does he have to pay zakat on the house that's worth 100,000? No. Does he have to pay zakat on the value of the rental property, which is 50,000? No, not on the value. It's not on sale. It's there for rent. What about the $300 in rental income? Yes. Plus the 250. So 300 plus 250 is 550. So he has to pay 2.5% of 550. If it stays in his possession for 1 year, yeah. If he spends it, no. This is the savings after 1 year. This is on his due date, this is what he has. On his due date, he has $250 in the bank and $300 in rental income. So he'll have to give zakat on that. Zayd has the next Zayd, Zayd Sani, the second Zayd. He has $250 in the bank, and he has a house worth $100,000, and one resale property worth $50,000, and one property for rent worth $75,000. How much zakat will he pay? So let's go each one. The $250 in the bank, will you have to pay zakat on that? By itself, no. But if it adds up, then you definitely. How about the house that is 100,000? Is that zakatable? No. How about resale property worth 50,000? Yes. This is zakatable. A house that is on the sale. One property for rent worth 75,000, is this zakatable? No. So he has to pay $50,250. 2.5% of $50,000, $250. This is if this is what he has on his due date. Yes? If a person it's on the sale and very sorry situation that he's trying to sell it and a whole year passes, then he just calculate on his due date. If he doesn't have the money cash to pay, that's 2.5% of the value, then he can pay it when he gets the money. When they sell it, yeah. After selling, he can go back and pay it. Yes.
The first one is the nisab is $500, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I have like $550, so shouldn't it be for like $50 and not for $500? Because $500
If you have like $550, like in the scenario 1 on this page, you will have to give 2.5% of the entire amount, not on that which exceeds the nisab. 2.5% on the entire 550, not just on 50.
Even though you have the $501.
If you have $501, you will give zakat on $501, not 2.5 cents, right? Rounded up to 3 cents. All right. So then, next, Zayd has $10,000 in the bank, and he has factory property worth $100,000. Factory property, machinery worth $50,000, and inventory worth $5,000. How much zakat should he pay? So $10,000 in the bank, is that zakatable, yes or no? Yes. And the factory property, no. The factory property, you don't have to give zakat on the value of the whole property. So 100,000 is zakat free. Machinery worth 50,000? No. If you have a lab, you have lab machines, you have all these machines, on the income generated from that lab, of course there is zakat, not on the value of the machines. Inventory worth 5,000? Yes, there is zakat on that 5,000. So 5,000 and 10,000, 15,000 is zakatable. Right? Everyone with me? All right, we're almost done now. Then we'll open up for your questions. We're going to go through the worksheet too, I think. We have, yes, you have a question on this one?
What comes under the category of inventory in this particular example versus the machinery?
Yeah, machinery is being used to make money or used to create things. You're not selling it. Inventory is what you buy with the intention of selling. You're selling. If you're selling machines, then you have to give zakat on the machines. If you're not selling the machines, you're using a machine to, like for example, if anything, you're selling masalas, shan masalas. So you have a machine that packages it and makes the boxes. You don't have to give machine. You have a textile. You're making clothes, so you don't have to. The machines that are sewing the clothes, stitching, you don't have to give zakat on the machines or in the factory. Okay, last one. Zayd has $10,000 in the bank, $5,000 in his 401k. $10,000 in the bank, is that zakatable? Yes. $5,000 in his 401k, is that zakatable? Yes. You can potentially minus his penalty and taxes. It doesn't make a difference if it was contributed by him or by the company match, because when the company matched it, they're giving it to you. So it becomes yours. Sometimes somebody said that, oh, if I didn't give it, the company gave it. So it became yours, right? You still have to give zakat on it. Machinery worth 20,000? No zakat. Inventory worth 2,500? So inventory, there is no zakat on the inventory. And the $1,000 fine to withdraw the 401k, he can deduct that. The inventory, there is zakat. I said no zakat? Oh, no, sorry. I was distracted. Inventory worth 2,500, there is zakat on the inventory. And the fine to withdraw the 401k, there is no zakat on that. Mm-hmm. This is not. Saadat is around. Yeah, he can. Yeah. This is not visible though. The last 2 pages. Uh-huh. Sorry?
Suppose the company is matching your 401k. There's a condition that you have to work 5 years in order to get the company match.
Okay, so did they give it? If they already put it in your income?
They are putting in the 401k, but it's not, that amount is not vested, but it's not yours. It's today on your name,
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So if it's not vested, yeah, that was what it was mentioning. If it's vested or unvested. So if it's not vested in your name, if the company is saying that they will match it, but only if you work for 5 years, and you have not worked for 5 years yet, so it's not yours yet. After you have worked for 5 years, then you will have to retroactively go back and pay the zakat for those years. Okay, I just had one page still to do, right? Saadat is remotely coming into my computer and changing it, but I still had one page before the Masail calculation. I have one more slide before that. I guess, yeah, he took over. The machines have taken over. I have one last, yes. After this slide, then we're going to go to the zakat calculation. I was giving the heads up from before. Okay, so Zayd has $400 in the bank and his wife has $40,000 in gold and silver. How much zakat should he pay? You remember, those who were here last year, they know the answer. 0. I mentioned last time we should correct this question. We should say how much zakat must he pay? Then it'll be more clear. Should he? Yeah, he should pay. He should try to help her out and pay for 40,400. But how much must he pay? 0, because his possession is below the nisab, and the gold belongs to his wife. So she is supposed to pay her own zakat, but he may help her out. He may help her out. It's not farad on him to help out his wife, but he may help her out. Because Islam allows women to have their own property, so that belongs to her, it doesn't belong to him. Yeah, his wife's wealth will not count in his nisab. So, and if he has no other vacation properties or platinum or silver or anything else, no rental properties, nothing to liquidate, he might actually be eligible to receive. Not from his wife, but from someone else. Yes, he may be actually eligible to receive. Very good point. So, this is not something that we think about at the time of marriage. Na'uzubillah, you don't think about divorce when you're getting married. Hopefully you're not thinking about divorce. But when gold in huge amounts is given to a woman, it becomes hers. In the case of divorce, you cannot claim those gifts back. Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, آتيتم إحداهن قنطارا فلا تأخذوا منه شيئا. If you have given a pile of gold to a woman, you cannot take it back after you have consummated the marriage. And أتأخذون بهتانا وإثما مبينا وكيف تأخذونه وقد أفضى بعضكم إلى بعض. So there are pros and cons. When you give this gold, then it becomes her. In case of divorce, you don't get it back. And the pros of, so that's the con. The pro is that you don't have to give the zakat for it, even though morally, family-wise, you might feel obligated, and you will, but it's not farad on you to give zakat. Other way around is that if you don't, no one really does this. It's the most unromantic thing to do. If you say that this gold belongs to me, it's in my milkiyat, but I'm lending it to you to wear. You can borrow it. Na'udhu billah. If somebody does that, then what happens? What is the result of that? Is it farad on the woman to give the zakat now? No. Who's going to wear the gold? It's haram on the male to wear the gold. So he's never going to wear the jewelry. The wife will wear the jewelry all the time. Practically she's going to wear it. It's not going to make a difference. But the zakat is farad on the husband. In case of divorce, can he take the gold back? Yes, he can now. Because he never gave it. So it was his. Prenuptial agreements, yeah. Zainab has $10,000 in the bank. Gold that she wears worth 50,000. Silver that she does not wear 500. Diamonds worth 30,000. How much zakat should she pay? Let's quickly do this. Zainab has 10,000. She has to give zakat on 10,000? Yes. Gold she wears 50,000. She has to give zakat on that? Yes. Silver that she does not wear worth 500? Yes. Diamonds worth 30,000? No. So 10,000 plus 50 is 60 plus 5, 60,500. Now we're going on the page. Next page. Yes. The jewelry she wears, is zakatable. She has to give zakat on that. Yeah. So now we have this. I don't know if it's yeah. Okay, it's bigger. This is zakat masail and calculation chart that summarizes this, and a worksheet as well that is on our website, on our homepage, and please download it. There are those who texted and sent questions that who are listening online, live stream. This is being live streamed. They are listening. They were asking, "Oh, are we going to get the zakat worksheet?" So we didn't really print it out. We just put the link on our homepage. Everyone can go on our homepage, inshallah, and download the link and fill it out. So it gives you a review of what we talked about. And then there is a worksheet on the second page. When a person owns surplus zakatable wealth assets to the value of nisab for the duration of one Islamic year, then zakat of 2.5% is due on the zakatable wealth of that particular year and date. Such a person is considered a wealthy person, is obliged to disburse the zakat. Zakatable wealth from which the current liabilities are deducted is classified as surplus zakatable wealth. What are zakatable assets? I'm not going to read this line by line because we went over it. I'm going to end up redoing the whole seminar. Cash, you can read it, and it explains cash. Petty cash, cash at bank, saved income, saved dividends. Stock in trade, that's things that you're buying with the intention of selling. Gold, silver. Oh yes, see, this is not covered. People owe you money. If people owe you money, you have to give zakat on it. Why? It's because if I loaned Zayd $500, when Zayd is calculating his zakat, he considers that a liability, he deducts it. He says, I'm not going to give zakat on, I have $1,000 savings, I owe $500, so minus $500, I will give zakat on $500. So the money that he owes, he's not paying zakat on it. And you say, I don't have the money, so I'm not going to pay zakat on it either. So no one's paying zakat on it. You understand? So if the money is owed to you, if it's a bad debt and you pretty much think it's not going to ever come back, then you don't have to give zakat for it. You just write it off. And if you end up receiving it, then you'll have to give zakat for the past years. Somebody borrowed $1,000 from you and they're really not going to pay you back. It's been 10 years. You don't have to give zakat for it every year. If they fear Allah, khawf khuda aa gaya for somewhere, and he went for itikaf and he said, oh, I should pay the $1,000 I owe brother, and he pays you, then you can give the zakat for the last 10 years. So money that is owed to you, you have to give zakat. Livestock, there is zakat for that. It's a different calculation altogether. That's why we're not going into it right now. Non-zakatable assets, all precious items not for resale. Of course, money collection that is not legal tender. If you have monopoly money, you don't have to give zakat on that, right? And haram wealth, if you have interest, why don't you have to give 2.5% of the interest away? Because you have to give 100% of it away, not 2.5%, right? So if you have interest money, you should give the whole interest money out with bila niyat thawab, without considering it as charity. You will give 112%, 115% of your zakat to them. So 15% will be charity, and 100% of your zakat will go to eligible recipients. Does that make sense? You're giving a sadaqah donation to Islamic relief operations. Yes.
What if someone says that, okay, if I give like $100 and says, okay, I'm giving $100 included in zakat, say like for like relief fund or like helping hand, they do like overcharge, like 1%, 2%. Or if there's a person who says, okay, whatever you give me, I'll give the 100% to the needy.
If somebody claims that all of their services are free of the entire aid organization and 100% of zakat of the money they're receiving is actually going to recipients, then you won't have to add that extra. If that is true, Allahu Alam how true that is. The entire aid operation is not taking any cent. 100% volunteers from collectors to distribution, and then besides, it's not just volunteer work. It's a lot of expenses. The rental of the buildings that they are operating off in their offices, their headquarters, all the overhead cost, transportation cost, everything is donated. It's a very tall claim, frankly. So people sometimes just say that 100% of your donated costs will go to the recipient, but Allahu Alam. Practically, I find it very difficult to believe, to be honest. Because how you can have all your staff 100% volunteer, that's possible, but then you have a lot of overhead costs still. So where are you collecting for that? All right. How do you, for the gold and silver, the depreciation or appreciation, you don't worry about that fluctuation. Just on your due date, what the value is on that date. Gold? If you buy gold jewelry for $1,000, then you're saying there's this depreciation for wearing it. The gold has its own value, and then there's additional making charges and all of that. So the gold value is gold. The gold value of the gold is the gold. So at any time it holds that value, depending on the market value of gold. The market value of gold, it increases sometimes, decreases sometimes. So based on your due date, whatever the value of the gold is, you will calculate it on that and discharge it. However, lillah or special donation for this purpose could be utilized. They could be lillah funds given to the aid organization, and that would be the additional 120% that you're giving. The 20%, 15% you're adding to your zakat. It is advisable that the zakat donor gives his agent a donation to cover costs involved in disbursing his zakat. If the aid organization is saying 100% of your money that we are giving only to the zakat eligible people, and they don't have any fund to collect for themselves for their operations, then who is funding their operations? Yes, this is a question. So if they have a separate fund, who wants to donate towards this aid organization for their running cost? Then it makes sense. And then they said, this is the zakat money 100% going, and this is a particular fundraising we have for our operating cost. Then it makes sense. But if there is no raising of funds for their operations, and then the claim is 100% is going, don't you think logically it's hard to believe that? Unless it's a very minor operation, somehow they're managing. But you have to be smart. You have to look at everything because it's your akhirah and your pillar of your deen. Make sure it's not being misused. It is more rewarding to distribute one zakat to a family member or debtor who is eligible to receive zakat. So family members give first preference. You cannot give to spouse, parents, offspring. You cannot give to Banu Hashim, right? Next page is here. Okay. Next page is, this is the calculation table, right? It has a lot of non-zakatable too. The reason we put the non-zakatable assets as well is so that people say, oh, you forgot that. So no, we put it there. Look, it's non-zakatable, don't worry. Your house is non-zakatable. Property that's not for resale is non-zakatable. This property not for resale includes rental property, vacation property, any property. Furniture, household effects, non-zakatable, automobiles. I fear I'm repeating myself. Just look through this. You go through this whole chart. It has a summary of everything. So you put your total zakatable assets at the bottom. Then you have your current liabilities. Your monthly payment on motor vehicle, on home, whatever you owe this month, you put all of those deductible value. Total deductible liabilities. Then you take on the blue now, your zakatable assets minus your liabilities. You got your total zakatable amount, 2.5%, you're done. Pay zakah if your total zakatable amount exceeds the zakat nisab. If it doesn't, you don't have to give zakat. You earn $1 million, you spend $1 million, there's no zakat. This table is downloadable from www.dsfnd.org. Or, yeah. This should still take you. We have to update this. Now we are doing masjidds.org. This we made last year. Jazakullahu Khairun. Let's see the questions that came online. Quite a few questions are here. Wow. If the zakat amount is big, then yeah, you can calculate it and then spend it, take it out throughout the year. The zakat, the nisab for silver is here. There's a question from a brother here or sister online about the zakat for silver. The zakat for silver is 612.36 grams. And that's the value for that is around $300. That's the same thing. He's saying once you said nisab for silver is 612 grams, but nisab for cash, how comes around 300? The nisab for cash is the lower of the nisab of gold and silver. So the silver nisab, that is the nisab for cash as well. Next question. Anyone has yes? If it's vested in your name, but you're not allowed to withdraw it, there's no penalties or taxes and you can withdraw it. It's just absolutely not permissible, not allowed. Oh, okay. If you're not allowed to withdraw it at all, then just give the zakat for it only when you get it for all the years in the past. Yeah. You will not have to, if you can't take it out now, then you can't give you don't have to give zakat for it right away. Yeah, when you eventually get it, then you can give zakat for the past years. You can each year how much it was. Yeah, you don't have to give zakat on it increased every year, right? So you go back how much it was every year. There are records of it. It was less 30 years ago, 25 years ago, 15 years ago. 10, and every year as it increases, the zakat would be more. Even when you retire, you don't have access to the entire amount. You will have access to the entire amount when you retire. No, yeah. So if you have access to the entire amount, then you will give the zakat at that point when you have access to it. If you don't have access to it, then you can't give zakat on it. If you give zakat from your other cash, then you won't owe it later on. We have a question. Let's say I have a car loan, primary car of 20,000. Is that full amount my liability, or is my monthly payment of $250 a liability? Yes, it's your monthly payment is your liability, not the entire amount. Let's do one online and one here. Any question here? Yes? Go ahead.
There's a parent who wants to enroll his children in the madrasa. He said that his children are baligh, so Islamically they are adult. So he wants to take the zakat to pay the tuition fee for his children. Is it valid?
If there's a person who wants to enroll his son or daughter in a school, and the children are adult, meaning that they are baligh, they're still they're under 18. So the father and the mother are not zakat eligible. They are, mashallah, okay. Can he accept zakat money for these children, considering them to be independent? So if he can spend on his children, it's more rewarding. Spending on children's education, and you mentioned madrasa, is so much more rewarding, and Allah Ta'ala put barakah in his rizq. But if he chooses not to, and he gives the permission technically for these 15-year-old, 14-year-old, 13-year-old children to take zakat money, and they know and they take zakat money, will the zakat be discharged? Yes. Are they eligible technically? Yes. Is this something recommended for him to do? No. But technically they are eligible. Because their parents may be wealthy, but they are considered independent from the Sharia perspective, even though legally they are considered minors. But Sharia-wise, they're independent. It's only when they're not baligh and they're minors, then they're dependents of their parents and they will not be an eligible recipient. You got the answer?
Even though they are fully dependent, Islamically you are saying they are independent.
Yes.
But then how can they get the zakat? The zakat will be given to the parents.
No, the zakat cannot be given to the parent. If the zakat is given to the parent, the zakat will not be discharged. Zakat has to be given to that child, to the 15-year-old, to the 14-year-old. The zakat will be given to him and said that now you pay your fees with the zakat money. So how they do that is that they actually give the money in the hand of the student in one office, and they say, this is your zakat money, they go and collect it. Then they take the money in their hand, they have the right to walk off with it, to do anything with it, and if they choose to study, then they take their zakat money and they go and they pay their own fees.
Somebody wants to give the zakat to children, they have to give as a cash or check.
If they want to give the zakat to children, they can even give it as a check or cash. This is the same thing, not a problem. If they give it a check, he can cash it.
If they don't have account in the bank, then the parents will have to
No, they don't have. He doesn't have to have an account in the bank to cash a check. He can go to any currency exchange and cash it too. If he has the ID on his name, he doesn't have to have a bank account.
If the children said, I make my parents like my representative, then
If the children makes his parent his representative to accept on his behalf, that's permissible. Zakat, question, zakat on gold with ruby gems, do we calculate on just gold or on the whole ornament? This is the online question. You don't have to calculate the weight of the ruby gems. If you have a way of subtracting that weight, that's fine. If you don't know and you just calculate it, the whole thing, and you give it, then you'll be slightly overpaying your zakat, which is not the end of the world. If the home is paid off, do we have to pay zakat on the home per market value? No, absolutely not. There's no zakat on the home. Next question here. Because each question I hit it takes a while to load up. So I will do back and forth. Yes? If there's an organization that has a food pantry for Muslims and non-Muslims, can you give zakat money to them? Obviously, if they're feeding non-Muslims as well, then you can give sadaqah, and not only you can, but you should give them sadaqah, and I would encourage. So I'm not against these organizations. I'm saying that we need to support them, but not through zakat. Normally, we try to help people back home in India with zakat. Is there any practical advice as to how we can check and make sure that they are zakat eligible? Yeah, you have to just make sure that the person you're giving the zakat money doesn't have savings. If whatever income they have, they're spending it, or they're in debt. And if you give them something that they can use to, you don't have to give zakat in money too, by the way. As you mentioned, food pantry reminds me. If you buy clothes and give it, if you buy, for example, something that can generate income, you buy a rickshaw, buy a little taxi, a rickshaw taxi, and you give it to somebody. Subhanallah. Then that person can now use that rickshaw and drive around and make income. That's possible. You buy a rickshaw bicycle and give it to somebody, he can make income. It doesn't have to be cash. You can give zakat in kind as well. If you have a college fund that your father has been putting money in for years and total is around 30,000, but you only have $500 in your bank account, is the father supposed to pay the zakat amount, 750, or should I pay the zakat after obtaining the amount, which could take years? Yeah, so this is, you can talk to your father about it and say that this is an obligation upon me, and if he is the one putting in the money into the account for you, then he could help you in paying your zakat. But the zakat would be due. If you don't have the money now, then it would be due later when you have money. Initially, a person gave money with the intention of sadaqah to the masjid. Then can you change that intention to zakat for it to count as zakat? No, you can't do that afterwards. You can do the niyyah before, like you say this money is zakat and you separate it one side, keep it, and from there you continue to discharge. Every time you give the money that's been separated for zakat, you don't have to have a new intention. But you can't give sadaqah first, then make it zakat afterwards. How do you determine the 1 year period? For example, if I sold one of my rental properties in 3 months and then I used that money to pay off some loan, would I need to pay zakat on that still, even though I did not have that money for 1 year? Yeah, basically you just have one date in the year, and on that date you give your zakat. You don't have to worry about if the money was in your possession for more than a year, for just came into your possession now, a few months ago, a few weeks ago, or you lost the money. You had it for the whole year and you just lost it before your due date, you don't have to give zakat on it. You just got the money 1 week before your due date, you do have to give zakat on it. Yeah, this is another question about how about a 401k that is invested in company-sponsored mutual funds, right? Like Vanguard. These contain potentially haram companies, and we may not know which companies. For example, alcohol and banks. These funds have the growth of the 401k is due to this fund is considered haram. Is it zakatable? This is something many people don't know about, and it would be helpful if the population understands this issue. Yes, so if you're investing in companies that majority of their income is through haram, then that entire income itself would be haram. So we have to make sure that we are not investing in such companies that are, and this requires a lot of diligence and patience and headache to go after and see that your funds are being invested in your 401k in legitimate companies. And it's a very widespread issue that there's not much awareness of. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us so that we do not invest in such haram companies. Now this thing is speeded up so I can access it. Assalamu alaikum, I missed some of the session. Could you please summarize the zakat on 401k, whether to pay on full amount or not, as the money is like salary and taxable once withdrawn? We talked about this multiple times, right? You can pay it after it matures on all the past years if you don't have money, or if you want to pay every year, you can minus the tax and minus the penalty and then pay it. Do you have to pay zakat on daily wear jewelry? Yes, daily wear, party wear, both types. You have to pay zakat on all jewelry. There's a price for gold for you if you buy, another price you would get if you sell it. So I bought this ring for $100. If I sell it, I will only get $80. Which price do I pay zakat on? Neither the buying price nor the selling price, the actual price of the gold, which is in between. The gold price. Go to goldprice.com. The gold price per ounce, per gram of the gold. Yes, there's a sister, on the sister's side, she's saying that she's listening to the zakat workshop. She wants to buy one of the jewelry scales for $10. How can I buy one today before I leave? We'll ask Hafiz Umar Barla and the other volunteers. Maybe we can put some on the women's side too. So, Rafi, can you let them know? But put some in the women's lobby, inshallah, and then they can purchase it, inshallah. The sister can buy it as well. Okay, another question. If one receives inheritance money and intends to solely use this money to buy a house for his or her own use, is this person required to pay zakat on this money if the time to pay zakat comes before time to buy the house? Yes. If you buy the house, there's no zakat on it. But if you still have the cash and you intend to buy a house, you'll have to give 2.5% of that money. The fact that you have an intention to buy a house doesn't make it non-zakatable. Okay, the sister found the scale. Rafi, she found the scale. She texted, Alhamdulillah, I found the scale. Thanks. So it was already out there, I believe. So it's an honor system. You put $10 in the box in the wall or swipe it on the mohit and you take it. Just like the dates that are there in the beginning of Ramadan, we sell so many boxes of dates. There's no date wala sitting there. Khajur wala. You just put the $10 in the box and you take it. Honor system. You guys are coming to the house of Allah, you're not going to steal dates from the masjid. Right, hopefully? Are we a little bit naive here, or is it okay for us? So likewise, you just put $10 in the box. Allah is watching and the security camera is watching. And then you take it. Just take one. Let's not buy one, get one free. Just take one with you, yes? Oh, you have questions? Let me just 1 second. Can zakat roll over? If you have more 1 year, can that excess be used to deduct from next year? Also, can you pay for someone else's zakat when they are not compliant? I'm not 100% sure what you mean here in this question. The second part, can you pay for someone else's zakat? Yes, you can pay for someone else's zakat. And you can say that you have this much zakat due and I'm paying on your zakat. But it will only be valid if they accept you as their representative. If they say, yes, you may pay zakat on my behalf. If they don't have the intention, na'uz billah, maybe this is a sister, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, her husband is earning but doesn't pay zakat. She's concerned. She's saying if she has money, she wants to pay zakat on behalf of her husband. That's your beautiful intention on your part, but it'll only be valid and will count if he also agrees. He says you can pay in my zakat. If he is adamant that I'm not paying and I don't care whatever you're doing, then you can pay zakat on his behalf. What do you mean by this? You can rephrase it. I'm not sure. If you have more 1 year, can that excess be used to deduct from next year?
I think what I mean is like if you have the zakat from last year and you haven't paid in the 1 year, but you're not only going the next year, so are you going to deduct that amount from?
If you have, yes, if you have zakat that you owe from previous years, and now you're calculating your zakat this year, so you have to give the zakat the previous year. That is a debt that you owe to Allah, so you will deduct that. Do you understand? So that means that if you have $1,000 and you have $100 due in zakat from last year, so you'll have this year you'll give $100 in zakat from last year, and you have to give 2.5% of your $900. Yes.
If your parents passed away and you want to pay a little bit extra just in case, and pay the full amount or they miss some amount, are you allowed to do that?
Can you pay extra zakat on behalf of your parents in case they miss their zakat in their life? Yes. That's very rewarding. Do you pay zakat on a Rolex watch that you wear? If it doesn't have gold on it, real gold or real silver, there's no zakat on Rolex watches. Yeah, there's the comment that the form does not mention about the 401k as a line item and does not talk about penalty taxes. That's good feedback. We can add it, inshallah. It wasn't in the original form, but we did discuss it in the seminar. The question is there someone at DSF who can help us to manage our 401k funds? Yeah, it requires a lot of time and research. I wish I had that bandwidth, but running this whole organization, teaching, administrating the madrasa, academy, imamat, nikah and talaq matters, and all the different things. I really at this time, I cannot necessarily go through your whole portfolio, but you definitely need to do research and make sure that you are not investing in haram companies. Yeah. Islamic mutual funds are an option. And question, can a person pay zakat on a sibling's home mortgage? Yeah, if a sibling has a home mortgage and you want to, I think he's trying to say that you want to help him out. If it sits as a long-term debt, it would not be considered as a debt that as a person is eligible to receive zakat. I think we have extended this session. It's been so long, alhamdulillah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward all the brothers and sisters, those who are present here, those who listen online. And we will conclude with the dua, inshallah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim. Oh Allah, make it easy for us to fulfill this obligation of zakat, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, make it easy for us to learn all the ahkam pertaining to all aspects of our deen and to fulfill them, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, we have good intentions and we are sincere, Ya Allah. Due to lack of knowledge, sometimes we make mistakes, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Please, O Allah, overlook our mistakes and forgive us for our shortcomings, Ya Rabbil Alameen. O Allah, all those brothers and sisters who sat through this seminar, reward them for their patience and sabr and their desire to learn ilm. O Allah, grant them the ilm of deen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Grant all of us the practice, the ability to practice on that as well, Ya Rabbil Alameen. O Allah, grant us ikhlas and sincerity. O Allah, accept these last days and nights, all our ibadat that we are doing in Ramadan. Make us among those who are blessed to worship you on Laylatul Qadr. And O Allah, accept the i'tikaf, all the brothers in i'tikaf. And O Allah, unite us with our families in such a condition that we are forgiven and they are forgiven. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun al mursalin. Alhamdulillah.
If someone's paying zakat more than 25%, will it be zakat or anything above 25% will be accepted?
What do you mean?